Hey friends, it's Julia Sudo from the SMB Level Workshop, here with another video of Story Mode of Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, ported to the GameCube by BrandonSMB and some other people, including Toothy7564, the BombSquad, Twix Ninja, Bytes, and I think I'm missing somebody. I know Jiroshi was involved to some extent, but not to a very large extent. Anyways, we're doing World 5 today. One thing I noticed about Deluxe Story Mode is that the levels that we're at in Deluxe are generally a lot easier than the ones that were in Super Monkey Ball 2 in the equivalent worlds. For example, in World 5, where like Bent Floor here, this is a level from the middle of Advanced in Super Monkey Ball 1, whereas normally World 5 is like the beginning of Expert. Which doesn't necessarily make it harder. The end of Advanced is probably harder than the beginning of Expert, but still, I don't know. You can see how it's skewed. Like the levels from Monkey Ball 1 are put in a lot later. I mean, World 10 I think entirely consists of levels from the end of Expert, which by that time, I mean, in Challenge Mode, or rather in Super Monkey Ball 2, those story mode levels are all original that are not even from Expert or anything. Anyways, here's Exam B. It's the sequel to Exam A. I'll do it the normal way, again, because in Challenge Mode I'll probably do all of the skips. But yeah, there are a couple of skips you can do on this one, but yeah. I always thought Exam A was a little strange, or Exam B was a little strange because it's not really any harder than Exam A. I guess it's a little bit longer. So if you struggle with the time limit on this stage, then this one would certainly be a lot more difficult. But aside from the time limit, it's basically just, aside from being longer, it's basically just Exam A in a different order. So I thought that was strange. But the one thing I do notice about Exam A, to be fair, is that the main problem the new players have with it is not actually that it's too hard to stay on, just the time limit. That they can't finish it in time, or have trouble doing so at least. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to go for the warp on this one, because I don't see why not. This is the only way to get the warp, there are a few other skips you can do in place of this one, but this is generally considered the simplest. But yeah, you can't just catch up to it, at least not without superhuman precision, because it goes very fast. Particularly in Deluxe, all the goals are faster. Well, or at least they're not faster, but they move away from the player more quickly. Oh, here is Jump Double. I wasn't sure whether this one is in Story Mode or not, but it is in World 5. So here it is, folks, Jump Double. It's like Jump Single, but with 2 jumps, and it's also got some bumpers. I like it when I do something stylish by bouncing off the wall in that type of way. It makes me happy. Here's Middle Jam. This level has a couple of issues in story mode, but if you take the fast cycle, it's not supposed to be a problem. So I am doing that, and hopefully I will not be launched 300 feet into the air, which is a bug that will be fixed. It's some kind of problem with the collision. I will retry, thanks to missing that. Yeah, but if I get the early cycle, that would actually be really cool. It's tough, though, and I don't really know the timing because I'm not used to playing Deluxe, but I got it. Yep. So Middle Gem is a stage that's all about staying in the middle of the bumpers. It's from the end of Advanced, or it's Advanced 21 particularly, in Super Monkey Ball 1. And it's from the middle of Advanced, more or less, going towards the end in this game. Yeah, in Challenge Mode. Here's Antlion. It's a stage where you have to bank around some edges. It's very easy. This level feels like a joke once you've done the harder version. That's true for a lot of the stages that have harder versions in Super Monkey Ball 1, which there are a lot of. Here's Collapse. Another stage that has a harder version that is basically just, kind of a strictly upgraded. Well, that was not very good, was it? But I am trying to do the cool kids strat, but I forget what the exact way to do that is. So I guess I'm just gonna flail around like a fool instead. But yeah, I always end up getting that banana bunch when I do Monkey Ball 1 expert runs on the one that is a harder version of Collapse, which I think is called Destruction, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, here's Swing Bar, also a stage that has a harder version. A lot of the late advanced stages in Monkey Ball 1 have harder versions later in the game. In Expert, yeah, that's just something I'm noticing and sort of coming to realize more specifically. Here's Labyrinth. This one is a unique advanced stage that does not have a harder version. And it is very easily broken by taking the warp this way. That is the warp that I just did. You just can't go around the back, as I'm sure most of my viewers know. Yeah. Monkey's walking up to the castle, but we're going to skip that and continue on to World 6, which I will have to be the final world I do in this video. Here's Spiral. I know the skip by heart in this one, although not as well as I do on the harder version, actually. But you jump down at approximately that moment. I guess I did it a bit too late. But I am much more used to doing the skip on Expert, because I have honestly played Expert of Monkey Ball 1 a whole lot more than Advanced. And I don't know the timer stuff, I just know it by visual cues, which is true in most cases for most things that I know about Monkey Ball stages timing-wise. It's always based on visual cues, more or less, with a few exceptions. But if I am not completely flailing around like a fool, I can still complete the level sometimes. I'm happy to report. Here's Wavy Jump. This level, I don't know. I always liked it. It just feels very smooth somehow. It's got some nice bananas that you can go after if you'd like. I think it's good. Here's Spiky. You see, even in World 6, we're still we're still seeing levels that are just from the end of Advanced, and the Deluxe timing always consistently manages to heck me up a little bit, just because I'm not used to how these things move, and I'm doing this in a lame way, but I still completed the level, so I'm not too worried about that. Here's Unrest. But yeah, we'd be comfortably an expert now if it was Super Monkey Ball 2 story mode stages, so I'm just not really sure why they're so far behind in that way. Well, I almost got a side goal there, but I think you need more speed for a side goal. Here's Polar. This one, the timing has changed considerably, just because of how that is. Ooh, some nice looking bumpers that are new to this. They don't have the B on them. But yeah, there are still ways you can skip it. I think they've got a little pot on top, and that's a nice detail. That's really cool. They're like soup bumpers. Here's Ruin, which is, you see, in World 6, we have just the first stage of Expert, a completely trivial stage placed into story mode. Yeah, the middle of story mode, so yeah. Here's Branch. I don't consider this to be too hard a stage. In fact, I do the warp pretty much all the time in doing my expert runs, although usually I don't do it in a cool way, but merely by just kind of doing it slowly, because I don't want to have to I don't want to have to reset the run every time I do that. Well, I almost got that, but I managed to bungle it anyways, as I am wont to do. Yeah. But I think I'm going to keep going at this until... You see, the frustrating thing about making these kinds of videos these days is, like, in the past I would have just included annotations saying, like, skip to whatever time. But while I'm narrating the video, I don't know what time it's going to be to skip to the end of the level. Thankfully, it was not too far after when I said. So here's Overturn. The warp on the stage is pretty tough. Because you don't really get a good chance to go for it, and you kind of just have to land on here and get into the goal from the side, and the camera really doesn't help with that either. But I'll give this a couple of goes. The deluxe timing makes it more annoying because you can't just like rush on immediately. But yeah, that's not going to be it. This warp is also completely pointless in challenge mode because you can just take the warp on branch instead, which is the immediately preceding stage, and since it's pink, or red if you prefer, you can just take that and skip the same number of stages, although that is actually not determined by green and red in Monkey Ball 1. It's just a per stage thing. Here's Excursion. This is very hard early on in Expert. In Super Monkey Ball 1. In fact, I would say that this is probably kind of similar in difficulty to Exam C, and maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit easier because the ending path is a little bit shorter, and also there's no V, which is probably the most like new player obstructive part of that particular stage. Oh yeah, it looks like they got little pots on them. That's great. But yeah, it ends up being skipped is the thing, which makes people not really. This isn't as really notable. It's not really as notable as a hateable stage as the other one, Exam C. So here's Dodecagon, which is the stage before Exam C. It's well known for being the stage before Exam C, I think. It's basically the sequel to Blocks and Blocks Slim, and I'm not really sure why it's not recognized as such because it clearly follows their style and design characteristics, although it is a little bit less similar, I guess, in terms of like the platform sizes and stuff, which are really similar between those two stages. But yeah, I completed the stage either way, which means that World 6 is complete. So here goes Dr. Bad Boon, but we're going to skip past that, and instead we're going to not continue to World 7, but instead simply end the video here. So thanks for watching, folks. It's been great.